Hello, future bestsellers and friends and cat lovers and whatever, whoever is here today. We're having like one of those mornings today.
Mm,
So welcome. We are super excited to see you. I'm Lisa Daly, and as always, is my lovely friend Michelle Schusterman.
hello.
Uh, Tell us a little about you and your channel. We're still waiting on Robert this morning. So we might as well start our intros right now as
Might
everybody's
as well.
filtering in.
All right, I am Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult and middle grade novels, and my channel is writing blogs sometimes. It's been a while. Traditional publishing chat and writing workshops.
Excellent. And it's fantastic if you guys have not been over there. I know Devin and Lysandra are here. If you guys, I know you guys are always already really familiar with Michelle. But she has a fantastic channel. If you're new here today and you haven't checked it out, you definitely want to do that. And you'll find a link in the description below. I'm Lisa Daly. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of and get it published. And I write contemporary romance, primarily romantic comedy and nonfiction advice.
Mm.
So I'm having a little bit of a flashback this
Mm.
week. Well,
Two.
because I wrote my first book when my son was a baby, and I wrote it during his he used to take these 3-hour naps every day. And he was always very scheduled even then. So he'd
Okay.
take these
Awesome.
3-hour naps every day. And that's how I wrote my first book. I would like write in here, I'd use all the nap time to write. And that's how I finished my first book.
Wow.
And yeah, right. My daughter, I would not have been able to do that with. She was like a kid that needed to be on my lap or hanging out. Like she was
Sure.
very talky all the time. So I had to make alternate plans. But with Quinn, he would take these 3-hour naps. So I'm having a little bit of a flashback this week because we have a baby in the house who is staying with us for a little while. He's the Horror Geeks daughter his adult daughter has a baby, and she's going through a little medical thing, and so we have him with us. Um, we've not done 24-hour baby care for a long time, a
God.
really long time. Him longer than me, and it's hard. Oh my god.
Honestly, Lisa, like the fact that you're here, you're functioning, you look lovely, you're ready to write. Like I don't understand because I have never had a child. I've never had to do this at all. And if I have one bad night's sleep, I will spend the entire day in bed if I can. Like I am
I
absolutely worthless. So
yeah,
it's you.
we've had some like the Horror Geek is very collaborative, and he has been like like we've really done a good job, I think, sharing the responsibilities. The
Mm,
problem is that one of us doesn't sleep, the other one's not sleeping, and so even though like no matter who gets up, it's
yeah,
they're not sleeping.
right.
And we did have his mom came over one night just for a sleepover, just to take the baby overnight
Mhm.
because neither one of us had slept through the night. None of the three of us, the Horror Geek, me, or the baby, had slept through the night since like 9 days prior. And so
Oh,
we were, and so we, it was bad though. I woke up the next morning, I felt good for about 10 minutes, and then I felt worse. It was almost like getting a good night's sleep
yeah.
made it worse. So I think that maybe today, when we were talking about different things, we'll talk about how to overcome writing challenges. I will say I have not, I've like been doing bare bones of what I need to do for client work just because
Yeah.
that's all I can manage this week. But we got our regular housekeeper is a very nice lady, and she's a grandmother, and she came over a couple days this week so far, and she's helped us out like so we can get a little work done. So we're going to do that. All right, let's say hi to our friends.
Yay.
Devin's here. Hello, Devin. We are super glad to see you today. Lasanda's here. Hello. Glad to see you. Victoria's here. I know everybody who tuned in is like, wait, am I on a baby channel today? Cool Gamer is here. Hello. We are super glad to see you. Let us know what you guys are working on today. Oh, Mary's here from Hawaii. That is very nice. So, Mary and Mary Putnam, an author that I work with, and David Putnam, her husband, another author I work with, um, formerly lived in Hawaii, and I don't know if you guys still do you guys still have a house there? Anyway, they go back on a regular basis.
Mm.
And that makes me very jelly because
Mhm.
I love Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could never convince the horror geek to move there, but I swear I'd love it. I would love it. I would
You
absolutely love
would
it.
I think it's just the feeling of isolation. I would yeah.
Yeah. I
I
don't
would
think
I've never been, so I don't know. Maybe it's, you know.
it's yeah, I never really felt like for me living on an island is like the greatest thing ever. And also they don't have hurricanes. I mean
Mhm.
they obviously have I mean they occasionally have hurricanes. It's
Right.
very rare.
It's not Florida.
It's not Florida where you have 77 a season anymore. So,
Yeah.
oh, she says at my mom at dad's house, y'all come on over. I'll be right. I'm packing right now. With bikini and nothing else. Anyway, yeah. So, yeah. So I would love that. So I did not. I slept. I actually got last night. Like I slept until like almost 4:45 in the morning, which feels like a complete luxury. And so I'm hoping I'm going to be able to write today. I'm working on my nonfiction project.
Oh, cool.
What are you working on today, Michelle?
I think I'm actually gonna start working on my thriller today. It's the thing
Yay!
I think on a lot of live streams last fall, I was plotting it and
Mhm.
stuff. I haven't touched it since, but I kinda have the day free, and I was like, "You know, I should get
You
back into
should
that."
do
So,
a little work on that. I am very excited to hear that. You guys in the chat, let us know what you're working on today. We are very um, blah. Okay, if I suck today, it's because I'm sleep deprived. I'm just going to apologize in advance. I can tell you there definitely will be technical difficulties because you guys know me, but it's going to be worse. So let's just ride through it. I
yeah.
have no idea where Robert is. I sent him the link this morning. I was super late because I was covered in vomit earlier. And yeah, so we'll see how it all goes. All right, let's start with our 5 minute warm up. And I need to suck down some caffeine really fast, and hopefully this will go a little better. So let's start with that.
Alright.
And ooh, Lasanda is working on fake dating romance. I know I've told you this before, but that is my favorite trope in romance. Fake dating, fake fiance. That's actually the trope I'm working with for the second book in my hockey
Ooh,
romance series. I know, but I love it. So you need a beta reader. I'm your girl. All right. Love, love, love. Favorite, absolute favorite. Daisy's here. Hello, Daisy. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do our first 5 minute warm up sprint. If I can find the thing, there it is. And we will put 5 minutes on the clock. And so you guys can get your caffeine and get your documents open and do all the other exciting stuff that you're going to do today. And while we're doing our warm up sprint, let us know in the chat what you are planning on working on today. All right, everybody, here we go. 5 minutes on the clock, starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's write. All right, we are back. I got a refill. I had like woke up with a really bad headache this morning, which is the only time I will allow myself to drink Coke. And
Mm,
right, and I only let myself drink it out of the plastic bottles because that's the kind I least like because I'm a total addict. I cannot go to McDonald's or that's it. That's like, yeah,
yeah, I
right?
mean, soda is better at McDonald's, weirdly.
It is. I think I'd read somewhere that the McDonald's Coke has more sugar in it,
Yeah.
which makes sense. That makes sense for why I would like it. But yeah, that's my downfall. I have been off Coke with I get migraines and for whatever reason the caffeine like shrinks your blood vessels. And so it does help on days when I have bad headaches to take one, but I'm not drinking them otherwise. And I was very worried with the lack of sleep that I would fall off the wagon. So I was like, Mike, I need you to go out and get me a yucky Coke. So
Yeah.
I need one, but I don't want it to taste good. I don't want to enjoy it. I just
No,
need it for the caffeine.
really smart. Honestly, that's very smart. You're taking care of yourself.
I am, but I know my limitations. Yeah, yes. So let's say hi to everybody. Oh, Shannon's here, made friends with a like button, been from back from a month-long vacay, getting lots of writing done. Don't you love that when you're just raring to go? That's my favorite. In fact, especially in January, because I'm all like hopped up on New Year's resolutions and I'm all like, I've taken some time off, so I'm all excited. So, yeah, exactly. Yay, good for you. Devin, it took a small break to finish a book I was reading, and now I'm working on my dragon book that I didn't finish during Nano. Good job. Very, very nice. Good morning, enduring the Texas freeze, but happy to join you guys for some morning sprints. Oh, we're so glad she breathes in gold. That's beautiful. We had I'm in Florida. We had freezing weather last night. I have a heater on. I had I have my sweater. I have a blanket on my lap like I'm a grandma.
Oh, man.
So I had like 4 blankets on the bed last night because that's what a big weenie I am. I can't take anything like, ooh, 75. I'm so chilly. But it got down to like 30, 32 or 33 last night. So anyway. Is it how do I say your name? Is it Nia? Naya? I'm gonna go with Naya. Drop us a note in the chat and let us know how to pronounce your name phonetically so that we are not mispronouncing it. Welcome. We are super glad you're here. Still frozen in Portland, but this morning they have power. Oh my goodness. Thank goodness. Thank goodness.
Yes.
I was told I'm very cranky if I don't get coffee in the morning.
Like, I mean, honestly.
I feel your pain, Devin. Loretta, welcome. Hello. Well, you're really close to me. It is cold, isn't it? We're not used to this. Florida folks, we can't take it.
Mm-mm.
20 degrees when I woke up. My car wouldn't start, so I didn't make it to the gym today. I barely made it out of bed. Nia. Oh, I love that. Nia. That's a beautiful name. Yay. It's 22 degrees in Virginia. Good gracious. Okay. Loretta is going to keep us on track today with the writing. I finished an 80K word fantasy in October. Awaiting. Wait, hold on. You know what you get for that? Because that is awesome. I think we all know it's coming, Loretta. Yay! We're so proud of you. Finished an 80K fantasy in October, awaiting agent response. She shut down queries till February, but at least I'm in line. Good
Mm.
for you. That is awesome. Very, very nice. I'm so glad to see it. Mary, thank you. Oh, so the power went out for a minute. You know, the thing about Hawaii, though, is a lot like everything, not everything, but a lot of places are like so open air that because you get all these great breezes all around that it's comfortable sometimes. Even I mean there are sometimes when it's not, but it's comfortable a lot of times even when you don't like necessarily have air, unlike Florida, which is oppressive if you do not have air conditioning. Very nice. Aw. Back at you, baby. Honolulu, super, super fantastic. Great place. I love like the tour. I know other people do not like Honolulu because it's so touristy. I love it. I don't know what it is about that. I just like to feel like I'm on a beach vacation all the time. That feels like
Yeah.
the thing to me. So how are you finding getting back? Like, so we're halfway through January and most everybody has big goals for January. how are you doing with your January plans so far?
Oh, so here's what's hilarious. Literally the day my first full day of vacation, like break over the
Mhm.
winter, so still December, I was so excited to be not working, and what did I do? I started setting a whole bunch of crazy goals for myself, as one does.
As
But
one does.
I
I
have
feel your pain.
like this writing workshop series planned for my YouTube channel, which I feel like I've just been neglecting lately, but
Mhm.
also like my own books and ghostwriting, so just like all these big plans. And then literally January 1st hit, and I was just like, "Eh." Still working. I got
Yeah.
back to my normal schedule, but like all of these grand goals, I don't there must be a word for that feeling you get where you just like you get a rush out of planning all these big things for yourself that you don't follow through with, you know?
There probably is. I don't know what that is. Um, yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I am very goal oriented, and so I
mhm.
usually get very excited about planning new goals for
Same.
January, planning new goals for the quarter. My challenge has been, and this is funny because this was not ever a challenge for me, but
Mhm,
just like there have been some bumps in my life lately, and so my challenge has been executing, and I keep like having to pare things back. So, because obviously I have client work, and so you always want to, sort of, give them your all. And also I love my clients. I'm an extrovert, and so I love that interaction. I love working with people. I love the collaboration. But for my own projects, I had some like really ambitious stuff I was going to I've been working on a class which I had started working on at the end of last year that I was planning to launch in January, but with the stork dropping the baby out of the sky this week, it's probably gonna be a little bit later. We'll have to see. We are trying to make adjustments, like, where you know how it is. Anytime you have anything new in your life, whether it's like an illness or, you're gonna take care of a family member or whatever it is, or your own kids are, sick or having challenges in school or whatever, you always have to kind of adjust to that. And
mhm,
this is sort of like my goal for this year. I often will do you ever do this? Do a tarot card, like tarot of the day kind of thing. So I do because I think it's funny. I started doing it because one of my clients, Theodora Taylor, who wrote Seven Figure Fiction and is like a big seven-figure romance author, she would pull a card of the day. And what I noticed is that all my seven-figure authors like have some connection to this, abundance mindset or tarot, or a lot of times all the above, just woo woo stuff.
yeah,
And so I started doing it, and I really find that it kind of helps to focus me, or it kind of helps me think about things that are sort of playing in the background of my brain. And one of the cards that I kept getting for the new year was this Wheel of Fortune card, which basically is like it's like a wheel. And if you imagine yourself on the outside of a wheel, you're going to be great when you're at the top, but when it rolls around and you're on the bottom, you're going to get squished, right?
mhm, mhm,
Like that, which is how I feel like I've been going lately. And sort of the solution is you try to stay sort of centered in the wheel, and then you're just going for a nice ride, and the bumpy stuff happens, but you're not as impacted by it. And it's just like a framing thing. Hi, Robert. And
Hey.
so that's like been my thing. Like, okay, I'm going to try and be better about sort of taking all of these like crazy things in
mhm.
stride. And so what does the universe do? Hold my beer, have a baby. So, good luck with the
Honestly,
wheel plan.
Lisa, that is really crazy, honestly.
I know, right? I know. Let's say hi to Robert. Hi,
Hey.
Robert. So, hi. Yeah. I noticed I'm like really red today. I don't know what that's about. It's probably the heater. So, Robert, we are super, super glad you're here today. Ooh, look at this. Shannon's got a goal here. Word goal for the year 400,000. Current word count 17,054. Very nice. Shannon, I would love to know, have you been tracking your yearly word counts for in previous years? And how did you arrive at that number? I'm
Mm.
very, very curious. All right. Loretta, my family in Michigan, makes fun of me because I'm whining about the cold. But you know what? If my foundation won't come out of the container, then I'm allowed to whine. Agreed, Loretta.
I know. Yep,
Completely. Yeah.
yep.
Yeah. Rock Howard. Rock, please. That's such a great name. Right?
It is a good name.
It is like that's a great name.
It's like old Hollywood.
It is. It is. It really. I mean, it's close. All right, obviously, but it really like. Yeah, I sort of really dig that name. Also, in the Texas Deep Freeze, I switched to working on a short nonfiction title, aiming to be a useful book. The concept tests so well. Fingers crossed, I'm finishing quickly. Good for you. Good. All right. So, Nia is ignoring novel rewrite for some short story submissions. Currently working on a carnival story. I love that. I have circus story in the back of my head that I have been like I've made notes on, and I've with a YA book that that I've been meaning to do, and it's on the list of projects I will do in 27 years because I have a full slate. Robert, what are you working on today before we go into our first 20-minute?
I'm actually on the last quarter of my read through for re-editing my manuscript. So
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Loretta has an awesome question, and we are going to answer it when we come back. But let's go ahead and do, which I think it is a fantastic question. And so let's go ahead and do our first 20-minute sprint because we are here to write.
Indeed.
All right. Here we go. I'm going to make this big. All right, everybody. First sprint of the day. Get your stretches. Okay, I'm kidding. I'm just being a dork. Sleep deprivation, everybody. All right, thank you very much. Okay, here we go. We're going to get started with our very first awesome 20-minute writing sprint in 3, 2, 1. Let's do this. All right. How did everybody do on that last sprint?
Good.
How did you do, Robert?
I did pretty well. I got through another scene, so very close to the end of this.
Yay! That's fantastic. That's absolutely fantastic. How was progress on your thriller, Michelle? There's nothing like going back to like a passion project.
Yes, and I opened the doc and I read some stuff. That's about
But
all I
that's what you got to
did.
do. Yeah,
What
that's
you gotta
exactly
do.
that's exactly what you got to do. Fantastic, absolutely fantastic. I was I'm working on reading a client, but actually I'm working on reading Mary's book right now. Ooh. And it's pretty good. Anyway, so what did you guys work on in the chat? Let us know. Let us know what's going on. So I had a great question from Loretta. Oh, and also Nia said if you have Amazon, which I do, there's a documentary on the history of circuses. Ooh, I'll have to check that out. Okay. Loretta's question is, can a prologue have action in it? Who
Yes.
wants to weigh in first? Yes. Yes. Robert?
Yeah, yes is the simple answer.
Yes.
The biggest problem I see with prologues is they will start out with a big action, and then when we get to the actual first chapter, it starts out in a very lackadaisical way. And that's when the character is waking up in the morning and going through the routine, and it's just not as exciting as the prologue. What
Right.
you start in those first few pages of your prologue, the criteria is the same for your first few pages of your first chapter. And it has to be just as exciting to pull the reader into that world because that's where you want them.
That is exactly right. That's exactly right. And I think that's such a good point because people think like, oh, if there's action in the prologue, then I can take a break and you're absolutely right. Your first chapter should be as hooky as your prologue is.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes I feel like people use a prologue to like crowbar in backstory that we really don't need quite that early. I see that happening a lot, Michelle. Also,
Yep.
yes, yeah.
It's
And-
like the two types of prologues. I should say the two types of poorly written prologues. You've got the info dump, like here's all the backstory and everything that you need to know, and it doesn't read like a story.
Don't do
Or
that.
you've got the prologue that's super action packed, but it was only inserted because the author realized chapter 1 was so boring, as Robert said, that they had to. But it doesn't change the fact that chapter 1 is boring.
Right. Right. So you have to fix both of those problems. First of all, you do not need to crowbar in your entire backstory into a prologue. That is absolutely not necessary. Just give your readers that information on a sort of need to know basis, meaning that you just give them enough information on the backstory to understand what's going on. And then you can gradually provide more context as your story goes on. But yeah, you don't want to do like a big info dump in the beginning. And I'm a big, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of starting books en media res, which is basically in the middle of the action. So I like to dump the reader in, where this program is already in progress. Like we're going, and then you sort of feed in a little backstory as you go.
Right.
I will say I usually don't write prologues, but I did a ghost project several years ago, which was a project about it was a YA book about a young woman who basically takes on Audrey Hepburn's persona to sort of crack the upper society of New York. And the way that she initially does that is she tries on the famous Audrey Hepburn dress from Breakfast at Tiffany's in at the Met Gala, where her friend works at the Met and is like an archivist. And so as I'm starting to write the book, we wanted to give some explanation. You can't just start with doing that. But what I realized is I just wanted to get to the part where she tries on the dress. And so I ended up making that part the prologue, where she's actually trying on the Audrey Hepburn dress. And then the first chapter starts you on this path where you realize how she got to that point. But it's compelling enough on its own. The Met Gala going on outside where you have all these rich and famous glittery people, and here you are, putting on the most famous little black dress in history. And yeah, It worked. It was fun.
Yeah. I am
Yeah.
trying to write a prologue and an epilogue in this story, since the craft book will be using this for lessons, and to give an example of what's good and what's bad in prologue. So I'm kind of bookending it with the character who's in the future, but there's something that happens that pertains to him in the future in the story. So it kind of has a point,
Hmm.
something like that. Another
Yeah.
thing that people do is they will try to start it with an action, a big exciting action where the character is in some kind of peril already,
Right.
you know, in the
Right.
future of the story.
Right.
And that can kind of work if you're leading up to it. But I've seen people start with that kind of action, and then by the time you get to that point in the story, they feel they've already dealt with it, and it's not as
Right.
exciting because you already given
Yeah.
it away.
Right. Right.
It really has to, you have to do it for a purpose other than I want to start with some action. You
Right.
know, we
Right.
talked. So I have not watched this show because I cannot handle even the mention of cannibalism. But that show Yellow Jackets, right, which everybody says is really, really great. It starts like the opening scene of the pilot is a girl running through the snow and she falls into a trap or something. But I think it's that you only see her from behind and you don't know which girl it is. So this is a story about girls who get in a plane crash and they're lost in the wilderness, but it's like, what happened to her? Which girl is it? Why are they chasing her down? And it
Right.
just gets me to ask all these, okay, now I want to know
Right.
what that happens to these girls. Like it was for a purpose and it works very effectively.
Right.
Like a flash forward.
Yeah, that I think that's a really good point that you make, is that if you have a sort of random action scene, but people don't have enough context to care
Right.
about why this is happening, then it's not very effective. But as you described with the Yellow Jackets, it raises so many questions because you don't know who it is, why is she being chased, why, all these really
Right.
interesting things. And so the reader is willing to to sort of learn what's going on, but not for too long. You can't do a prologue with an action scene of something that happens 3/4 of the way through the book, because it'll just make it feel familiar, but two, it's so far ahead, they're gonna, the context of it is just gonna be all screwy.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think they can be done really, really well. Or if there's something, like if there's some sort of scene that maybe foreshadows something, or like where it's I see it done in historical sometimes, where they'll show something that happened in the past that's relevant somehow to the to the story, the primary story that's being told. But a lot of people so this is interesting. This is actually what I was just about to say. A lot of people don't like prologues and won't read them. And so if your first chapter does not stand on its own, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
Oh, right. That's it. Yes, that's exactly right. So you have to connect your main story to this, and you have to do it pretty fast. Let's see. Lasanda says, I wrote a prologue in my first book. It was a flash forward. Very nice. Mary, same thing. A lot of people don't like prologues and might skip them. It might be good to ponder if you really need it. I feel like prologues are really good for urban fantasy. I see that. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So we started watching Supernatural. I realized we were the last one. The Horror Geek had already watched a good chunk of it, but I had never seen it before this year. And we watched the whole series all the way through, and now it has replaced our previous nighttime series. And so we watch it as we're going to bed because we've already seen it, so you can just nod off in the first 10 minutes. And they do that a ton. You see this like, I'm being choked and I'm off a cliff and there's a vampire. And then you get to the 12 hours earlier or 3 days earlier. That makes me crazy. But it is effective. Unfortunately, this is why people keep doing it. But I hate it. I have a prologue-ish first chapter. It sets a scene, but for the current situation, establishes the main character. You know what? Most books don't. I shouldn't say most. Many books do not need a prologue. Character is in danger. It's less emotional if we don't know the character. Right? There are no stakes. We don't care about this. We only care about it in the same way that we would care if we saw a person on the street being something bad happening to them. Like you care, but you don't care as much as if it's your best friend being kidnapped rather than a random stranger. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Most prologues have information that could be inserted somewhere else in the story.
Mm-hmm.
If that's true, then you have to ask yourself, is there a really good reason other than just having that action up front?
Right.
That action up front can work if it's very specific to something and you have a good reason for it. If
Right.
it's just that, flash forward that you're going to have to eventually catch up with, it depends on the story, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely agree. Completely agree. All right, guys, let's go ahead and do our next 20-minute sprint. I am up for writing. I've had this is like the first hour I've had to myself in a week and a half. I want to make the most of it. All right. Here we go, everybody. Who's ready to write? Okay, we're going to get started with our next 20-minute sprint starting in 3, 2, 1. Let's cha-cha. There we go. Sorry about that. All right. Fantastic. How did everybody do on the last sprint?
Good.
Good.
Two scenes this time.
Yay. All right. Fantastic. That is awesome. I don't know if you guys saw, I had a little baby visit me for a second and
I
gnaw.
did. I missed it.
And gnaw. He like totally went for the top of my mic cover. So it's a little drooly. Boss. All right. Boss. I can't.
Boss
can't.
has the style. I feel like
Boss hath the style like
Yes.
that, maybe. Okay.
is that it?
Hi, boss. We're just going to go with that. Very, very nice. So I guess I should take that banner down. Yeah. So yes, I had a little temporary baby visit right before the nap. So I can't. I'm like such a dork. I cannot find the banner. All right. Fantastic. Let's go back to the comments. So, good. I did pretty well, except for the little baby visit that sort of got me off my thing. I did not notice that we were so close to the time when we came back. All right, let me go back and look and see what we had. I apologize. I normally have questions queued up today or queued up every day. And this time I do not. So let me just go back to past ones that we have not had a chance to answer yet. Dun, dun, dun. Did we do this one? If I indie publish, can I still get into bookstores? I feel like we did.
I don't
No.
remember.
So the answer to that question is yes, you can, as long as you're distributed through something like Ingram Spark. Your the bookstores will be able to order in. Barnes and Noble is tricky sometimes. They have a thing like if there aren't a certain number of copies in Ingram's warehouse or in Barnes and Noble's warehouse, but generally for an event, you can get books into bookstores. You have to be cautious, however. If your dream is to indie publish and have Barnes and Noble, have your book in every Barnes and Noble in the country, because if you did achieve that, you'd have to make sure that that book is selling, because if it's not, they're going to send that book back, and then that it costs you money and all of that stuff. So it's if you're indie publishing, yes, you can get into bookstores, but proceed with caution unless you're doing an event, and then absolutely you need to have your books in stores. Dun dun dun. I think we answered. Do we get this one? I'm a multi-published author who's never believed in writer's block. Now I have it. I think we talked about that one a little bit. I myself had this exact experience. And I think sometimes one of the ways to sort of keep your to sort of get through writer's block is to find other outlets for creativity. Or as I was really struggling, not so much writing nonfiction, but writing fiction last year, or maybe a year and a half ago now, I can't even remember. And I worked a little bit with Becca Syme. I don't know if you guys know who she is. She's the one who writes those Dear Writer, You Need to Quit series. She has a little podcast called the Quitcast, and she's very data driven. She like is a person who works for Gallup, and she's smart as she can be and really understands publishing. And one of the things that she told me basically was to sort of gamify my writing a little bit and make it more fun, so that I was associating more fun with that. And then I also bought a book called Fire Up Your Writing Brain, which talks about how to, like, basically it's sort of like a neurologist perspective on writing, and has a lot of kind of evidence-based tools to help you sort of get going again. And so between those two things, that helped me get out of my worst. But and the only other one I had that was like really bad, the thing that solved it for me was doing other things that were like taking a little break from writing and doing other creative projects. Like I made this whole beautiful shell chandelier, and I figured out what this little weird triangle nook in my kitchen was for. It was for cookbooks, but it was like this weird triangle shelf on my island. And I was like, why would you put, if you put pictures there, no one would see them because they're so low down. So just that kind of stuff. Using your creative brain, but not necessarily for writing. What do you guys do to push through when you have writer's block?
couple of things. I never used to get it either. I just moved on like a machine at one point, and then burnout. That was the number one thing for me.
Yes.
Mhm.
Another thing is when you're doing that one thing and you don't have a balance between something else creative. And I used to
Mhm.
have art and writing, and I realized that I needed to find something else to kind of supplement that. But one thing that I've done, well, two things that I've done is one, switch up my keyboard, write on something else. That can help.
Yeah, that helps a lot.
Secondly, if I find a writing book that's actually good and informative, um, I don't breeze through it in like a day or so and hope that the craft will stick in my brain. I will use it, like every project is something different to me. So I'll use it like a workbook and I'll read a chapter and it's like, okay, that sounds interesting. Let's go experiment with that and just try to keep it interesting. I had to do that for years when I was doing art because sometimes it does become the same thing and you have to challenge yourself with a different technique or a different approach and make it
Mhm.
interesting for yourself, because when it becomes your job, um, you'll find out.
Yeah, I mean that's it, right? When you're writing your first book or your first couple of books, it's sheerly for the love of it. But
Mhm.
then as you get farther into it, it's for the mortgage. And sometimes that pressure can sort of dampen your ability to write creatively.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So Daisy has a great question. How many books do you recommend having for a signing event at a bookstore? Asking for my future self. So one, your bookstore will normally have a good idea about how many books they typically sell at a signing event. Now, I will say, do not schedule a bookstore event unless you can fill those seats, right? It's better to have 3 really well attended signings than to have 15 terribly attending signings, because the bookstore will remember that you did not pull in a crowd and they will not invite you back. So that's the first thing. And a lot of times they will just decide how many books to order in. But you should always have a case of books in your trunk of your car in case they run out. And that's your goal, right? Is to get them to sell out. I will say, um, at my typical book signings, I'll sell anywhere between 60 and 100 books, but I generally will do, like, I can generally pull a good crowd. And so your goal is to sell as many, like 60, a bookstore is going to be happy, 50, a bookstore is going to be happy. So if you can try and hit that number, then that's great. But you can have a successful bookstore or a successful book signing and not sell 60 books. I think a lot of times they're happy if you hit like 35 or 40. That's more than they were going to sell on a Tuesday night anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And I also I will say that here are two of my bookstore signing tips. One, I always like to do it like on a Friday night. So like people are like, they'll come out to the book signing and then maybe they go out to dinner or something. And then the other thing is I always like to hold them in indie bookstores because often you can bring in wine and
Yes.
booze and nothing promotes books. This is the same rule. Like if you've ever run like a charity event, you want to make sure you have an open bar because people decide that they're going to buy a lot more books when there's a little glass of wine. Also, you want to do white wine instead of red wine if you're going to do that, because white doesn't stain. So there you go.
Yeah, that's a good
Oh,
idea. I could just bring like a portfolio or a pile of original artwork, and that was like a little extra. But yeah, those little extras mean a lot because you need
They do.
that eye candy or maybe even some buzz candy.
Mhm. Well, and it's kind of fun. Like I would always do my launch party at a fun little store downtown, same one every year. And we would do, like, I do little gift bags and we'd have wine and some sort of light bites and kind of just make it into a fun event. One year I had a cupcake sponsor who made all these like cupcakes, like little, coordinated with the book cover. And I mean, we've just like done some really fun stuff. So ooh, Becca is going to be speaking at Tropicon in St. Augustine next month. Love, love, love her. If you have not heard her speak before, you definitely want to go. You will come away with lots of actionable information. Thank you for asking. Yes, I am planning on speaking in Orlando Reads Books this year. I could not make it last year because I got COVID and I had to cancel. I'm also like realizing that I can't remember what the Denver one's called. The big Denver reader event, Readers Take Denver, maybe. I
Mm.
think that's what it is. That one is coming up really soon. It's going to be in April. So I'm excited about that because I missed Orlando. I was going to do 2 reader conferences this year, and I missed Orlando Reads Books because I was sick. But nothing will keep me from Denver except COVID, I guess. All right, let's go back and do another sprint. It's 12:30. We've got a little more time to do one more. Regina's here. Hello, Amber, the house organizer day. So I'll only be in and out. I'm preparing for the whirlwind. Ooh, all right. That sounds exciting. All right, here we go, everybody. Let's get one more great sprint in. Okay, here we go. I feel like I need a drum roll. Da, 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 da. 3, 2, 1. This is your last one. Let's make it count. All right. All right. I feel like I got a ton done today. How about you?
Yeah, I got a lot done. I am, let's see, 92% through with my manuscript. So, hey, and she's gone. Hey, Michelle. Lisa
So sorry.
disappeared, and then you reappeared.
Oh man.
Weird. I wasn't even doing anything.
It was the Robert show for a second there.
I
It was.
know. I know.
Stage all to myself.
You can do it, Robert. Yeah, well, that's great. I'm very glad. How about you, Michelle? Were you did you have a good productive stream this time?
Yeah, actually I did some vlogging. I just realized there was some stuff I wanted to talk about, so I
Very
picked up the
good.
camera. And that's why I missed the
The return. I have no excuse for why. Like I was here and then I was gone. It just shut that. I'm like, okay, well, that's what we'll do. Thank you very much, Heather. I sure appreciate that. Ditto for you. All right. So we did a great job. I hear crying baby, so we're gonna stop a few minutes early today.
Don't
But we got all of our sprints in, and I'm super excited about that. So before we go, let's go ahead and quickly do our outros. And for Robert, this will be your intro as we just sort of crammed you in. So tell us a little about you and your awesome channel before we head out today.
Well, my intro and outro is that my channel is The Story Detective, and I take various forms of storytelling and put it under my Sherlockian microscope and break down the craft for the viewer to make your craft journey easier. There's a lot of interesting videos there. There's new videos being planned for spring. So if you haven't seen them, go catch up and you'll know where I've been.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, Devin. We are always glad to have you here. Michelle, tell us a little about you and your channel before we hit it.
All right, I'm Michelle Schusterman. I write young adult and middle grade novels. My channel is Writing Workshops, Traditional Publishing Chat, and Writing Blogs.
Very nice. Thank you guys both as always, for being here every Wednesday. I'm Lisa Daly, and I write contemporary romance and nonfiction advice. And on my channel, we talk about how to write a book you're super proud of, get it published. So if you're interested in that, be sure to subscribe to Michelle's channel, Robert's channel, and of course, my channel. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. We love you, and we will see you next week. Happy writing.
Keep those keyboards clacking.
There we go.